diva has come. How you doing, baby? How you doing?
I can tell you that.
Is that why you started late today because of her?
Adolph Mongo here at Detroit in Black and White at McShane's on Michigan and Trumbull. We got Eric Brown sitting in. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing all right. Cold, but I'm all right.
Eric don't like anybody. That's what that is,
That's what I like about Eric.
That's what I like about Eric. Jim Nardone.
Can't love
How you
everybody.
doing?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah. Former police. Do you get tired of people saying former police chief?
You're the only one who talks about it. No one ever talks about it. I'm invisible.
Okay.
I'm high.
Vanessa Moss, attorney Vanessa Moss. Are we gonna have a surprise somewhere?
Oh, I guess it's on the way. They're running a 5
Oh,
minutes
okay.
behind. But good morning, everybody.
And Alan Lango ain't here today. Alan is
here.
I'm just kidding.
Here.
Wait a minute. Alan's going to a bar mitzvah. Alan worked at a place with kids that had issues, and one of the kids that he had issues with and he dealt with, their son is having a bar mitzvah. The guy became a good business person.
Oh, wow.
Whatever. So
That's awesome.
he'll be back next week. So let's get going. Since you're the guest today, Eric, what's your outrage? I know you got a lot of outrages.
My main one is that punk ass Tim Scott. First of all, if someone gave you an opportunity to be a senator, you would not be where you are. Then to turn your back on that person to support a clown, you are a punk ass.
You talk about Nikki Haley.
Supporting Nikki Haley?
Nikki Haley.
No, he's supporting.
Not supporting
Nikki Haley. Yes.
Right.
He should have supported.
Right. She the one that gave him. She appointed him to Senate.
I'm gonna tell you this story. There's no question about it. When I left the Coleman Young administration, the first person that reached out to me and said, "You need anything?" was Art Blackwell. He was the chair of the county commission. He said, "I'll give you a little contract and stuff." Okay. Fast forward, he was running for mayor. I didn't think he can win, but he asked me to help
with his campaign.
Of course.
And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, he's not gonna win. But guess what?
You won.
No, he didn't win.
You didn't win?
No, I helped him. I helped him
Right.
because he was the only person that when I left Coleman Young administration
offered you an opportunity.
Yeah. So it's all you got is being
loyalty. I mean, and that means a lot. And I think people fail to realize how important loyalty is. If you cannot be loyal to someone that looked out for you, then you're a punk.
Says a lot about his character. You
Ain't
really want a guy like that?
Ain't no question, Jim. You're outraged.
Where do I start? There's plenty. This is crazy. I don't know if anybody saw this, but my outrage with the NBC. CJ Stroud is a young man that plays for the Houston Texans. What a great young man, right? His dad's in prison for 38 years. They just won a big game, and he went on TV, and he was interviewed, and he said, "I want to thank my Savior, Jesus Christ." Well, they put it on social media, and they cut that part out of it intentionally, NBC. What's going on with this country? What's the censorship? I don't care about his religious beliefs. I don't care if it's Allah. I don't care who he wanted to thank. But that young man, his first sentence that came out of his mouth was, "I like to say, thank my Savior." And they took that away. So what's going on in this country?
They full of shit. Vanessa?
You only got 60 seconds.
I have more than 60 seconds. Don't play. So I saw a story. Actually, I heard the story and then I read the story about 215 people buried behind a jail in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And of course, Big Crump is involved. But you have, what I'm outraged about is this. You had a parent or a parent who reported her son missing.
And they wouldn't tell. They knew he was dead. And they
What?
yeah.
Not only did they not tell her that he was dead, they buried him behind the doggone jail. Then when the investigation unfolds, it shows that he's back there in the back, right? They told her, okay, we're gonna make this right. We're going to bury him.
Exhuming and rebury.
Exactly. They told her we'll do it at 11 o'clock. They did it at 8 o'clock, and they had him in the bag. That is outrageous. This woman wanted closure. This family wanted closure. And you know what? I get maybe the 215, those people, not all of them were missing. Not all of them, their parents didn't. People didn't look for them. Because when I read the story, I was like, well, I'm sure some of these people were homeless. Some people have been estranged from their families a long time. But 215, get the heck out of here. And that young man in particular, how many others were just like that out of that 215 that they found in the back of the jail? That is outrageous. You have a mayor whose father is from Detroit, Chokwe, the late Chokwe Lumumba.
Right.
His son is the mayor there.
So what did he say?
Well, he had a very political answer. At first, it was they talked about how, good morning, Bridget Huff. They talked about, that's Tracy. As you call her, Bridget Tracy. At first, he said that some of these people were homeless. Some of these people had not been in contact. They couldn't.
That's bullshit.
And then,
but that one guy, he wasn't a criminal though, was he?
No.
Yeah,
He got hit by that was the kicker. He got hit by a police officer.
That's this story.
Yes.
I'm familiar with this story. He was only missing for he got killed the same night, right? He got hit by a car.
A police car.
Yeah.
And, this is just outrageous. And the more you hear of the story, it's like, this is ridiculous.
So what did the mayor say? His politically?
So
Initially, his political response.
Right. Initially, he said that it was, these were people who, were missing, strange families, etc. Then he comes and says, well, you know what? I'm sorry that happened. We're doing an investigation, and we're going to, of course, make this right. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the young man's ID was in his pocket.
Right, they knew who he was.
Well, I
His
can
identification
can I tell you this story? There's a family I grew up with in Rollo Township, and one of their uncles got sick and was at receiving hospital. They couldn't find him. His family. Come to find out he had received him. They had his ID, license, whatever. Never called the family. Sent him to the morgue. They cremated.
What?
Yeah, and it's like he didn't have a family, but y'all had all his ID and everything else. So, that's just the way they do business, especially in Mississippi.
Wow.
Why are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I said I'm outraged.
Okay.
I think it's ridiculous. I'm not surprised. It's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
I'm all right. Listen, we got Eric Brown here. Eric, I sent you some stuff this week. They said Michigan, the black students in Michigan, their test scores. Somebody told me test scores don't matter. They don't care.
Well, test scores
Literacy matters.
Yeah, literacy matters, and test scores are just an indicator of potential success. But when you look at these test scores, if that's an indicator, that tells you that a lot of these black kids will be failures. And what bothers me more than anything is the silence, the lack of outrage. Because last year, when it was reported that only 5% of 8th graders were reading proficiently, these 8th graders are now 9th graders. In 4 years, they will be high school graduates and out into the world.
So that means that when Elon Musk says that
HBCUs,
United,
that kind of,
yeah,
that
that the
kind of-
black college programs ain't shit. He don't want to ride on a plane that United.
That's a DEI,
Airlines.
right? That's a DEI.
Okay.
I mean, that's bullshit on
I
his
agree.
part because
agree.
at the end of the day, look at some of the greatest minds that have come out of HBCUs. But people have to also understand, when you're silent, you become complicit in the failure of black kids, or even rural kids,
Right.
or even Appalachian kids. Because one of the things that we have to understand, you look at Mississippi, talk about Mississippi, they went from 49th in the country in education to 21 because they made a concerted effort between the students, the teachers, the legislators, and the parents to improve. But what bothers me about that situation, they want to call it the Mississippi miracle, as if black kids cannot be successful in the classroom. And by so many people being complicitly silent with regard to that moniker, that's telling the world that you guys didn't even think they had a change.
Not only are they complicitly silent, you have a whole bunch of people that want to make excuses for, well, the parents don't have an education themselves. Oh, the parents don't have lights. Oh, they don't have food. They don't. It's always they don't.
Booker T. Washington walked. He's born a slave. Listen, Jim, you from Taylor, right?
I grew up in Taylor.
What's the joke of Taylor? Taylor, Tucky, right?
Right, exactly.
So what do that mean? When people say, "Oh, Taylor, Tucky," and all, it's the same shit.
That's kids that came up, their parents came up to get jobs in auto factories, and they were uneducated, and they got a job, and they raised their families there. But a lot of them were uneducated. They didn't have college degrees.
But they wanted you to do
they have
what?
high school diplomas, though.
They wanted you to do what? They wanted you to do what? Graduate from high school?
Absolutely.
There's no question. So that's what we got to do.
It's a start.
Yeah, it's definitely a start, but part of the problem is you just have to get involved. We have to make it a priority because, again, these kids in 2027 will be put out into the world, like to your point, Vanessa, if they even graduate. 56% of black boys in the city of Detroit graduate below grade level and or do not graduate at all. Why the fuck are we silent about this?
But wait a minute. What does it say about the system?
It says the system don't care. That's what it says about the system.
Because I think I talked about this. I don't know if I talked about this before on the show, but in the early 90s, I was working for the school system.
Yeah, you talked about on the show.
And you just passing them along.
Right.
Just, hey, change those grades. So
You
we can work
floppy,
them.
didn't
Well,
So are you saying it's effort? Are you saying it's the teachers? It's the commitment isn't
No.
It's not the teachers. It's the administrator. It's the administrator. It's not the
Tell
teachers.
you, hey,
It's everybody.
If you,
Well, no,
if you
it's
have
everybody.
It's everybody.
But the
It's
administrators are telling
everybody.
these teachers to change grades,
It's everybody.
to pass them along.
to pass people.
They've been
Which
doing
ties
it.
into, this is what I think
They've
it
been
ties
doing it
into.
a long
Listen,
time.
the administrators are under pressure too, because how do you get money? How do you get money to support the school system?
successful student.
Absolutely. So it's the whole
And
thing.
the biggest fraud in Michigan is student count day. That's the biggest fraud in Michigan.
So
If people, it is. If you want to make a difference, particularly in the urban communities, don't have your kids go to school on count day, because they only give a damn about your on count day in October. Second count day, we get the other 10% of the funds in February. Keep your kids at home. The same way I say about black people voting. Quit going and being pawn to these to the Democratic Party. Hold your vote out 1 year and make them earn your vote the following 4 years.
Okay, we're gonna take a break and we'll come back and we'll continue with the rant of Eric Brown.
Not a rant, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasurer.waynecounty.com and see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasurer.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Well, we're here. I don't know what happened to Adolph. He's out visiting.
He's
a celebrity.
He's a breeder.
He's a celebrity here
He's being social.
at McShane's at Michigan and Trumbull, where we're.
So how can they do this?
Oh, absolutely. So if you're watching us today, we want you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. You can look at us on all platforms, Facebook Live, X. We also have a page, DetroitInBlackAndWhite.com, and you can see all of our previous episodes. But we want you to also come down and participate. We're right here on the corner of Michigan and Trumbull at McShane's. Come on in. Come on in.
Listen, we gonna come there. We got a special guest here. And this your girl, my girl too.
Your girl too.
Yeah, come on, Christine Beatty. Come on, sit right here. Sit right here. Go ahead.
Vanessa was late too, so don't worry about
Yeah,
that.
I was like, but I was camera ready. Hey.
Good morning. Nice to meet you, Jim Nardone.
Okay, Christine, good to meet you.
Eric Brown, good friend, and we have a lot of mutual friends. So, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So that's actually how we met. And I have a big mouth, so I'm always talking. So as you guys see, we have Christine Beatty, who's a guest here on the show. Christine, we just went and did the round table. We did the outrage. We're gonna let Eric finish up, and then we're gonna do you can do your outrage, and then we go on from there.
And
Okay,
to your-
I'm sorry. Look, just so my outrage, I'm trying to warm up, so I know everybody's like, "Why is she sniffing?" Oh, it's my nose.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, but to your point, there are various metrics that play a role in the excuses and the blaming. But you can't keep saying, like someone said to me the other day, I won't say who it is because I don't want to out the person.
I don't know.
Well, first of all, you cannot blame in 2024, you cannot blame slavery for the failure of people in education. So you just can't do it. I refuse to believe that due to the fact that Frederick Douglass stated, once you learn to read, you will forever be free. So you are someone that taught yourself how to read, became one of the greatest orators in the world, even to this day. If you go back and listen to some of his speeches, that's an excuse. He went beyond slavery. You take the Emancipation Proclamation, the highest percentage of Black intelligence at the time happened right after the Freedmen's Aid Society founded so many HBCUs. So it's no excuse that in 2024, Black kids are struggling in the classroom. There's no excuse for that.
I agree. There is no excuse. And I don't know how we got to the point where our parents wanted more for us.
Correct. They wanted our life to be better than theirs.
And actually, in our case, it is.
But for the kids that don't have parents to do that, that's where the
And
struggle.
But that's where mentorship programs come in. That's where the fraternities and sororities supposed to be doing the real shit, as opposed to just not talking about it, doing the real shit.
Right.
You can't have. No, they don't. I've been a Kappa for 40 years. Let me tell you something. I know you're a Delta. Let me tell you
I've
something.
been an SG row for 40. Come on now.
You just can't have, Christine, with all due respect, you just can't have your kids, your grandkids, your nephews, nieces, and cousins in these programs. You got to have the people in the community program.
For sure.
Our kids are not the ones that need the help.
No question. So again, my sorority, I can't speak for any of the Divine Line. I love all love, but I know for Delta Sigma Theta, that's exactly what we do. We go into the community, not just our kids in different programs. There's a plethora of programs.
Correct. Yeah, they are.
In some communities, some may be for their kids. It's a difference though, and what Delta puts back into the community is undisputed. And so I'm not, again, you're a part of Kappa. I can't speak for Kappa. I just know what I'm a part of and what we do. Not only because I've seen it, but I participate.
Let me see.
I'm not saying we don't do it, Christine. I'm saying we need to do more.
We all do that.
Because
All of us do that.
but you can't just make blanket statements of sororities and fraternities should be doing this.
Well, I think I can based on my experience.
Give us an
I think I
example,
can.
Christine. Give us some examples on how.
No, I don't want to jump into the conversation.
No, you are in
I'm
the
just
conversation.
No,
We want you in the
You
conversation.
said I am the conversation. No. And I don't know, I haven't listened to your podcast. I've heard about it, I've heard great things about it. But I didn't realize, are y'all the two conservatives here and then you're the liberals? Is that how this is going?
No, I know what
I'm an independent. I'm a staunch independent.
I'm joking.
I like that.
I'm joking, but I mean, I was just listening to the thing of that you, I don't know if the topic is you can't blame slavery for the reason. why
we
kids
just
are
have a
educated.
conversation. That's
Yeah,
what
I didn't
said.
hear what he was saying. Was it a bigger part or was that the premise?
Well, that was a bigger part. That was one of the
Okay.
excuses that
Okay.
someone presented to me with regards to the failure of, because I'm not sure, there's an article, where the report that came out on January 10th, it was printed in Detroit News this past Tuesday.
Okay.
Detroit Black students perform worse in the nation compared to their peers all
Okay.
across the nation.
Mm-hmm.
I think the metric score is 1,000. Detroit students score, I think, at 286. And when I reached out to someone that is in a position of power for education, that was one of their responses. You know, they came up with, their various metrics. If you read the report, which I read the report, but she also said slavery was one of the reasons. No, slavery is not one of the reasons, not in
I get the
2024.
context.
So this is what I think. I think there are many
There's
reasons.
many reasons, right?
There's many reasons. But I do also think, though, that we have to look at the fact of the way the system has been set. The system is not successful. Okay. If you have kids going to public schools, right, and these kids cannot perform, and I'm not talking about a test, you just can't do the basics,
Right.
You can't read. That's a problem. Why are we continuing as taxpayers funding this situation? Why are we not saying what the hell is going on? This is unacceptable.
That's why I say hold them back on count day. Hold them back on count day.
It's not about the funding. It's about the commitment. You're talking about two different things. The funding doesn't change things. As we've seen, we've been throwing money at problems for how many years? Secondly, Christine, you've been sucked into this team. You can't get out of here now. Once you're part of Detroit Black and White, you're like a light member.
gotta jump
You're like
in.
a light member. So we need your input.
No, listen, Detroit, I mean, you can absolutely use blanket statements like I said earlier for a lot of things. I don't necessarily subscribe to slavery is not a part. That's a whole different conversation. Slavery is at the base of a lot of issues
Right,
for
correct.
Black people in
Right.
America. So
Right.
you can never discount it. So, and that has continued. It's like playing Monopoly with somebody and they get to go around the board 200 times to do their stuff. And then they say, okay, now you go. All right, everybody is equal. No, we're not.
Right.
You went around the board 200 times. That's how it is for African Americans in the country, right? So, secondly to that, in terms of Detroit, we got a lot of things. Race has been a big issue for Detroit in terms of why our city changed, why our school system changed, why we lost population. We were a city built for 2 million people. And so certain things happened, 60s, all those things. We were there. Well, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I was
I was
sorry.
a little.
I was right on the bench. I was 1970. I was right after. But no, the point being that we understand, especially the four of us, understand the history of the city of Detroit. So it's a little more complicated than just that. There is a lot of things that play into why our school system is where it is. Performance-wise, money-wise, funding-wise, all those things. And we've, all seen, witnessed, and been a part.
Well, let me also be clear. When I speak of education, I'm talking about nationally, because you talk about money. Baltimore school system spends $21,000 per pupil, and they are in the bottom 5. So money is not the answer either. It's a commitment from those individuals, from the kid to the parent, to the educators, to the administrators, as well as to the politicians. Politicians may not want to say they have a role in it, but they do have a role in it, a major role in it. But they want to excuse away the fact that they do not. Yes, you do.
Come on over here, Adolph.
Why?
Because I said so.
You said so.
Yes.
Wow. I
Come
don't
on over
think
here. Bring your behind on over here.
Nah. Go ahead.
So, Christine, did you have an outrage?
You know what? I know you told me about that. I think my outrage was the cold. I'm still not used to it. I can't do it. I did, but then I moved to Atlanta. I was in Atlanta for 12 years. My ecosystem changed. It was not.
You sound like my son. You sound like my son. My son says the same thing.
Yeah, when we came home for holidays or Christmas or something, we would go, okay, yay, were here 2 days. Back to Atlanta. You know, the cold
Already
was
trying to
not
get back.
Closer to you.
because the cold is extreme, and I just kind of forgot. But
We have room.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
We could-
reminded of every time I'm.
Well,
out
I'm gonna ask you. You know, you here. You here. Okay, can we? Okay.
Yes.
You deal with all the bullshit that came at you in the last month or two. You know.
I think, again, Detroit is very unique. We are a unique city.
Absolutely.
I don't really know another city where something that occurred 15 years ago can still be prominent whenever someone chooses to make it prominent, right? So I don't know a city where that happened. I don't know a city where 15 years later, they're still talking to different people. So that's different. I love my city though. I'm born and raised and diehard Detroiter without question. So for me, at this point in my life, I simply move forward, walking in my own steps. I don't worry about what other people think or say, as long as I'm clear that I'm doing the right thing, walking on God's path.
And how your
That's
girls
all I
doing?
need. They're doing good. They're
And
doing
you know
good.
what? And we know you lost your mom. That's
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that, honey.
Thank you.
You
And she
Um,
was taking care of her mom.
Listen,
Well, I mean, I didn't just come home. It's so funny now. People say, welcome home. I'm like, oh, thank you. I've been here for almost.
So let me say this, Adolph.
She's been
No,
here for almost
I'ma
2
say
years.
this.
She's been
I'm
almost 2
gonna
years.
say this. I'm gonna say this, and I gotta say this, and I'm told Christine this. Listen.
What you get ready to say?
You know what I'm gonna say.
I know.
You know when I came up there dealing with the mayor wanted me to come on the team, and he said, "Where you want to meet at?" I said, "Meet at the office." He said, "No, you come to the Manugi," and I said, "No, I want to meet at the office." So I go up there, and I see, and I go, they looking at me like they wanted to kill me. Then when I see Christine, she looked at me like, oh, I was like, I said, y'all won. Y'all won. It's over with. I said, because you know what? But she could have been on Kwame Young team because this is how we acted. Because when I worked for the mayor and he brought people in that fought against him and stuff, and I said, Mr. Mayor, these people wanted you out. He said, yeah, but we all together now. And you know what? And that's just the way it is.
Right.
And she looked at me and said, okay. You know, I said, damn, she looking at me like she wanted to kill my ass.
I mean, I was young in politics. We
But
were
that's-
young.
But that's all.
And when
what
you
it
know
is.
that 30s, you're in that it's the team. It's what do you mean? You weren't on our team.
No,
you
I
know?
wasn't.
No,
I
that's-
beat.
but you taught me a good lesson. Okay, you won.
I won.
Now
Y'all
you
won the
gotta,
game.
yeah, you gotta
Right.
be conciliatory.
And
What are
I-
you?
and
Yeah,
here
how are
I
you
am.
trying to build a
And
great
here
relationship?
I am.
And
And here
that was
I
a
am.
great lesson.
And then when I went, they had all these folks. We were somewhere, and I said, right here, right now. And somebody called me saying, "You with Kwame and them?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Listen," I said, because when I was in high school, I was on the debate team. I can be for you, against you, whatever, and I know both sides of the
Right.
fence.
Right.
And you know what? And that's what we got to do. You know what? We got Christine here. She came back into the lion's den,
That's all right.
and here you are.
And think about, and speaking about coming back, that interview you did with Christy McDonald
Mhm.
was an amazing interview. And I tell people, I forwarded it on to a lot of people because they have to see the whole 32 minutes, not just a snippet they showed on Channel 4. That was a great interview. And I think one of the things that made it so heartwarming, you two was able to relate. When she talked about losing her husband, you talked about losing your mom, that made the interview real.
Mhm.
And you were real. She asked you, she didn't give you any softball questions. The elephant in the room was about your job at Thaw. You answered that appropriately.
Mhm.
And so I tell people, you can appreciate this, you've been in media for a while, debate team and all that. That was a masterful interview. So
I
that
agree.
was a great interview.
I agree. I thought it was a wonderful interview. Now I will say I was hating a little bit because remember we talked about you coming on the show.
You well, and I do want to say
Somebody
that.
trying to pour first.
No, breaking me first. No, so it was so like I said, I've been back 2 years. There was no I've heard comments people say, well, she was under the radar. Well, what was I supposed to do? Have a parade that I was back?
Right. Hey, hold tight. We come back. We're gonna take a break, and we're gonna come back and continue with Christine Beatty.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasurer.waynecounty.com to see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasurer.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Okay, we got.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, we back.
Whatever you say.
As we wrap this up,
She was in the middle of saying
Right.
she came back 2 years ago.
Right.
Why she came back? She didn't come under the radar or anything like that.
No, I was just saying when I came back, it was just to be with my mom. I mean, I didn't have intention on moving back to Detroit originally, but when she got ill in 2021, I tried to do the 1 week there, 1 week back as best I could. I would drive if I could get a cheap ticket, whatever the case. I made it back each week when she had chemo for the first 8 months. After she had an episode, I was like, oh, okay, well, let's go to Detroit. So I packed bags and came home. So I've been here.
and I understand because I used to take my mother was getting chemo. She had lung cancer. She had stopped smoking 30 years. But lung cancer comes, and I used to pick her up, take her, and she said what she didn't like when she was getting her treatment was the young people that was there. She said, I'm almost 80 years old. You know what? I live my life. But when you see people 20 years old, 25 years old, they sitting up there with an IV in their arm or whatever, and you know what? It's just.
Yeah.
Can I just, I want to change the subject.
Go ahead.
Just in terms of the whole cancer piece, I would be remiss because you did mention Christine McDonald and her husband. I didn't even realize her husband had passed from colon cancer. I knew he had passed. So that was until we, but I didn't know until we had the interview.
Yeah.
But the point being, everybody get colonoscopy. My mother was a PhD nurse.
Yeah, that's sorry.
And the reason that when it was diagnosed, it was stage 4 is because she hadn't had her colonoscopy. She's the most health conscious health person, is the person that everybody used to come to advice for, for advice.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you mean you have to stay? We were both sitting there like, what do you mean? So we got the results and it was gut wrenching. So please get colonoscopies, guys, when it's time. It's okay.
Where are they saying the young folks need to get it?
What's that, 40? Some people are recommending now at 40.
And there's no question. So as we wrap this up, what do you want to tell the folks of Detroit?
Southeast Michigan, not just Detroit.
No,
we're all over
young
here.
lady.
What do I think? Not to say that I think I've said a lot. I'm happy to be back. I am clear on my mission in life. People that try to keep me relegated to one portion of my life, I'm not going to I'm going to continue to live and be that same, vibrant person. It took me a while to get back to her, and I'm never losing her.
Right.
So thank you for all the people who prayed, came up and gave hugs, even people who've had their criticisms. Thank you that you even consider what's going on with my life. So I appreciate it. And
She's congratulating all the haters, basically.
no, but I mean that genuinely, because if we continue, I know that's right, Vanessa.
Because
If we
if you don't
continue-
have haters, that means you're not doing something right.
If you continue, but if you just continue to acknowledge just all of the great and not look at things,
Right.
Mistakes and what people's criticisms are, you don't grow. So
But
I'm
you
appreciative
know
of
what?
all of it. I
But
really
you know
am.
what?
Like I said on the interview, I would, if I could change it, 1,000% I'll change it. But I appreciate the growth.
I'm gonna
Right.
tell you, Leonard Townsend,
Mhm.
who the
The
judge,
judge. Yeah.
I had lunch with him before he died, and you know what? He the one. He got a case with the former mayor, and he said, "You gotta take the tether off." He said they lie all the time on in these court cases. He said felony cases. He said they had never prosecuted anybody. And he said they got mad at him. They stopped him from being a visiting judge. But he said they didn't do nothing. He said they did not do anything. And he was like the hanging judge.
I'm gonna let
Right.
y'all have that conversation. I ain't dipping in
Right.
that. Y'all
No,
go ahead.
but I'm
What
just
did I tell you about putting your finger in my face?
that right.
Alan's not
Right.
here.
But all I'm saying is, young lady, you worked hard, and you got some balls. You came back here, and
It's
Here
home.
you
I'm
are.
always, it's home.
Man, we happy
Right.
to have you home.
we
We
have
happy
to
to
have
have
you
you.
on. We want you to come back.
Yep.
And
I'll be calling you a
So
bummy.
when I come back, there's nothing about me, and I can
No.
just dive
But
into
you know-
topic and
but
happen,
you
right?
but you
All
know-
right.
but you know what this, shit is.
No. I'm
You know-
joking.
you know- You know
And
what
I'm
this
just
shit
saying
is?
next time I can
You
really
know?
give you my
No.
opinion. Then
No,
you
but
to
this
do
shit
it.
is it's like on a credit report. Shit falls off.
Exactly. How many years do you have
Right.
in the enterprise?
Shit falls off.
It's 15.
Yeah,
Has it fallen?
wait a minute.
It's
It don't sell off. So you don't have to do it.
Absolutely.
You don't even have to do it. You don't even
Your
have to do it.
credit is 7. From see it's 10. I'm at 15.
Right.
Good.
Oh, there you straight. You You
Now
say-
that part on here.
You're right.
Oh, that's too funny.
Thank you, Christine Beatty. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Mark Craighead.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com and see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
I'm here.
Oh,
We're just together.
We're back.
I coached him next week and all that stuff. Christine, I told
You
her,
know what?
we go way back. You know,
Good morning. We're live.
Good morning.
Hello, Mr. Ainsworth. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to Detroit in black and white. The mess that it is this morning.
Thank you.
we got.
We tripping today.
Yes, we are. We having a good time. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
All right, we got your guy over here.
That's right.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So give us a little quick synopsis of Mark's case, and then we go to Mark.
So Mark's case is a tragedy on many levels. It started with the murder of Cole Pruitt in the early morning hours of June 27th, 1997. And it was a tragic case. He was killed execution style. The police investigated. They talked to dozens of people, including Mark. They interviewed Mr. Craighead 2 times, 2 separate occasions. He was cleared both times from having any kind of wrongdoing. And then in June of 2000, new detectives were assigned to the case, and they decided to solve it by any means necessary. They isolated Mark. They prevented him from having contact with his attorney or his family or anybody who could help him. And they got him at the end of a 24-hour ordeal to tell a lie that he had committed this crime. It was false, but it was used to convict him, despite the fact that not only was Mark cleared previously, but he had independent evidence showing that he could not have committed the murder. Because at the time of the crime, he was working in a locked Sam's Club warehouse, and phone records demonstrated that he was in the Sam's warehouse at the time of the murder, making calls 30 miles away from where the victim was murdered and the victim's truck was abandoned. And it took years and years, but Mr. Craighead persevered. And finally, with the assistance of the Michigan Innocence Clinic, he got his conviction overturned. And
well, you know what? I always said if he didn't have Colombo with him, that's his dad, Mr. Craighead, he wouldn't be sitting here, because his father, listen, my track coach in high school, he was relentless. He was all over the place. And he always stated that Mark was at work, etc. But you know what the sad part of all this, besides him spending time being incarcerated for something he didn't do, that his father don't have a clue of what's going on. What's happening, Mark?
Well, my dad's got dementia. He's been having it for a long time. He's on a trail. He's all the way down. He can't remember anything. Incontinent. Everything, and he just can't remember anything. I see him every day, so that's one of the reasons why he remembers me. My dad was a real fighter. I get so many people like you, Adolph, and everybody since I've been home telling me if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be out, because he didn't leave no rock unturned. And to see him right now and to talk to him right now, he can't understand anything, but all I can do is love him, because I know what kind of person he is. I knew that if I had any chance, it came from him.
Let me ask you a question. How long were you incarcerated?
7.5 years.
7.5 years. And that during that 7.5 years, your dad was continuously fighting for you.
Continuously fighting for me. Refinance house, got me to some of the finest lawyers. He thought that was out there.
Name some of those lawyers.
Otis Culpepper, Jeffrey Edison. He had Steve Fishman. So
they don't come cheap.
No, they don't.
No.
He lost his house because of that. And during that period of time when he was trying to fight for me, he got dementia, and he refinanced his house, forgot to make payments and everything else to the house, so ended up losing the house and everything. So it was a lot lost there, other than more than his memory.
More than his memory,
right.
More than your freedom. Right. So that's pretty sad, but the bright side of it is you're out. The bright side of it is you're able to go and see him every day.
That's correct.
And the bright side of it is that you have an attorney that's working on what are you doing now? Can you talk
So
about
we're trying to get justice for Mr. Craighead, because just having him be released from prison doesn't account for the damage that was caused or the need for accountability. Because ultimately what Mr. Craighead wants is not only justice for himself, but to prevent this from ever happening to anybody else. And the only way for that to happen is to expose the dirty underbelly and let sunlight in and disinfect, the scourge of police misconduct that really has been rampant and has been unchecked. And people are just now realizing the true, full extent. And so, we're trying to right that wrong and expose what happened to Mr. Craighead as a cautionary tale that we need to, as a society, not let this ever happen again.
Is there ever an apology from the legal feel the prosecutors?
I haven't got it. I mean, I haven't got it. I mean, I'm pretty sure Russell haven't got it. They don't go that deep into it, but no apology at all.
Well, you know what? I read all these stories, 48 years, 25 years, 15 years. They had a guy that served 12 years because somebody that was blind identified him. I'm like, that's unbelievable.
So-
how can we? They need to go to jail, the
So,
folks.
as far as I'm concerned, not only do you need accountability at the level of the police, but as a prosecutor, or brother counsel, you know this. As a prosecutor, a win is not always the case. It's supposed to be justice is served. And so you, as an attorney, if you have the case, you have to look at the case and look at it and see what are the holes in it? What is it? Is this case provable? I mean, did that even happen?
It doesn't appear so, and it's a good point because
that's
the
a problem.
prosecutor needs to represent the people. And by
Absolutely.
prosecuting Mr. Craighead and letting the real killer go free, not only do we have a less safe environment because the killer's free to kill again, but the family of the victim gets false justice. The real killer was not held accountable, and Mr. Craighead and his family are devastated. The rippling ramifications of this go all throughout society as people trust the police less, trust
Absolutely.
prosecutors less, and we don't have a system that serves us, the people.
Right. Because the system was supposed to serve him as well. He's the
That's
people.
right.
And that is really unfortunate. I find, and I have a case that's coming up this week where I'm like, how the hell did you charge this person? Did you look at the discovery? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. So this person is losing time off their job. Of course, they worry to death. Okay. They worry to death. And I'm telling you, there's holes all in this. It's just ridiculous. And it appears that based on what we've learned about Mr. Craighead, there was holes all over the place. But you still determined that we're going to proceed. And then when he's found guilty, he had to spend 7 years in prison. And now he's out and you're still trying to seek justice. That's ridiculous.
So tell us, what are they trying to do to Mark here?
Well, the defendants are trying to avoid accountability, and they're trying to deny, circle the wagons, and hope that nobody looks any closer at this case. I've seen this happen over and over again. I've been working with dozens and dozens of exonerees, and Mr. Craighead's case is no exception. This happens way too often in way too many cities, and it's been particularly repugnant in Detroit.
It's a number thing. We're just numbers now. They close the case on us, and it's just a number thing. It's not about the evidence or what they have on us or anything else like that. We're a number. We shut the case, and that's it.
So have you been able to rebuild your life since you've been out?
Yeah, a little bit until it's kind of hard. What Adolph didn't tell you about my family and everything else. Back in '78, my mother and my sister passed away in a car accident that my dad was driving. So, he just barely got back on his feet. Then you look at 10 to 15, 20 years later, his youngest son get taken away on something that he knows that wasn't.
And he was relentless. I'm gonna tell you, I talked to several judges down at Wayne County Circuit Court. They know Mr. Craighead, Miss Milton Craighead. They know him. They liked him. They said, man, he come down here. He was articulate. He laid out the game plan. He should have went to law school because he was doing stuff that most lawyers supposed to do. But this was his son. He took whatever money he had, he spent it. And you know what? It was like he said, he told me this. He said, if I thought my son did that, he said, I'd be the first to say, lock him up and throw the key away. He said, but I know him. He said, I know my sons. He got What do y'all got? 4 sons?
We got 4 of us.
Yeah. He said, I know my sons. He said, I know how they are. He said, but if I thought he did that, then no, I wouldn't be out here doing what I'm doing.
So, Brother Counsel, if I may, in terms of the legal process, where are you? I know you filed something. Where are you guys? I know you said deny, which means there was a complaint filed. They've answered it. Discovery phase. What's going on?
So they moved to dismiss certain counts of the complaint. And so
Of course.
we're in the motion to dismiss stage.
Okay.
And, the process is slow, but the slow man catches up with the quick.
Absolutely.
Eventually there will be accountability. And the nice thing about this suit is that it allows Mark to turn the tables. Now the
Right.
officers have to be questioned under oath and answer and account for what they did. And he's, hopefully he can get some answers as to why this happened. At the time, Mark was 41 years old. He was married. He had kids. He was coaching sports. He was working. No criminal history. And yet, the kind of person who you would expect would be insulated from stuff like this happening with a strong family. And yet he too, fell prey to coercive tactics. And I think that's just wrong.
So do they delay the processing of dismissing the case altogether so that they don't have to pay someone like you?
That's right. It's to prevent accountability. It's to delay having to have the financial, payout. But all it does is it increases the amount of money that Detroit spends on lawyers.
Right.
They pay their own counsel. If we win, they have to pay our time under the fee shifting statute.
Well, they don't care. Listen, when I worked for Coleman Young, they always ask. They don't care because you know what I said? Why do you have a law department when you go to outside counsel all the time? They spend so much money. But as we're gonna wrap this up, you got one last question?
I don't have a last question.
What
I'm sure
about
you're gonna
you?
be back on the show
Sure,
again.
right.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue. Mr. Ainsworth, thank you.
Thank you for having
coming
me.
on the show. We're going to have Mark. I just wanted Mark to come back on and talk about how it affects his family and stuff, because he has a brother that's out in California that, you know what, he got health challenges, and they all trying to take care of their father. And you know what? And here he is. He's stressed out with his father. He's stressed out because they trying to turn him into he don't have no money. He's stressed out because they just messing up his reputation again. How many times can you kill you?
I said the same thing.
Sure.
Well, listen, as Brother Counsel indicated, it's slow. The process is slow, but it's going to work. You waited 7 years to get out. Okay, so you know it's the process, and you know that it is. So for all of you, going into the legal system, be it civil, criminal, family, probate, it is a process.
Well, if
And
they
you're going to get to the end of the process.
if they had to serve the time when they screwed over people, it wouldn't be that
Well,
slow.
it tells me that they were professional liars. He's not the first one that they don't lie on. Will you agree? They're
Right.
That's
professional
right.
liars. That's what they do.
There's no question. Russell Ainsworth, thank you very much.
Thank
We'll
you.
be talking to you again. Thank you, Mark Craighead. Thank you. Final thought, Eric.
We got 6 minutes.
Yeah. Final thought.
We got 6 minutes.
I understand it. Go ahead, Eric.
It's election year 2024, and it's unfortunate because you have polling that shows the people do not want neither one of the presumptive nominees. And we always talk about we the people. This is the opportunity for we the people to step up and demand better. We cannot have number 45 or 46 back into the White House. I'm sorry.
So who you gonna have?
I will vote for a Bowie.
Well, Fox News said Michelle Obama going.
She's not gonna run. She wouldn't win. And
I don't know why she wouldn't win.
She wouldn't win.
I agree with you that she's not going to run. I don't believe she's going to run. But when, that's a different.
That's a different story.
That's
Go
a
ahead.
different story. But wait a minute. I want to ask you a question. What do you think about Iowa?
I think it's a damn shame that a 90%, well, let me rephrase it. I think it's a damn shame that Iowa and New Hampshire, two cities or states rather, that are not representative of the country, dictate the presumptive nominees. It's a shame.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have Iowa with a 89.3% white population, 6.6 black population, 2.2% Hispanic population, others, the rest. New Hampshire, 90% white population, less blacks,
You ever
less
been to New
Hispanics.
Hampshire?
Have I been to New Hampshire? I don't plan on going to New Hampshire.
Sure,
I've been to Iowa.
Okay.
I've been there too.
Yeah, so
Is
it's, you
this
know,
happening? No, it's Iowa.
but those states should not represent the country as a whole.
I agree with you.
There's no
Eric.
question. Go ahead. Your final thought.
My final thought is baby. It
Don't talk
is
about being cold.
cold outside, but guess what?
You've been in Michigan all your life.
We're Michiganders and we can deal with it, and we're dealing with it. And guess what? I believe it's just what they say it is. It's a cold snap. I can't wait for it to be a balmy 30 degrees next week. So I want everybody to have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to the warm weather next week. Get your bathing suits out, your beach balls, etc., and let's have fun. We'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place, same platform.
She gonna be
Detroit
a recipe
Black
for
and White.
pneumonia.
Okay, Mark, I'll give you. What's your final
I
thought?
agree with the brother over here when he said it's election year. You know, and I think we should get out and vote and pick the person that's best for us. I'd like to thank you for having Christine Beatty on. I haven't seen her in years.
Right.
We go way back, and I feel for her and her mother. And I guess she can feel the pain I'm going through with my dad, because she knew my dad very well also. So I'd like to thank you for having me.
Okay, since we got Mr. Ainsworth over here, come on. What's your final thought?
My final thoughts are thank you guys for exposing, for having Mark on the show and talking about these issues, because I will tell you, I've been doing this work for 20 years, and the media's influence on the public consciousness is powerful. And the more times these stories get told and the more people learn about what's really happening, the more action will follow. And so thank you.
Right.
Okay, Jim.
You can't mention the Lions, Jim.
I wasn't going to mention the Lions. I was going to talk about the case that we're
You just
talking
mentioned them.
about.
Both of them. You just mentioned the Lions.
And why I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed, and I read some of the information on this case. I'm a former police officer, and what disappoints me is the prosecutor's position that it's over. That disappoints me, because what that did is that just passed the buck. They should have taken responsibility and said, it's over because we made a mistake. It's not over just because we decided it's over.
Thank you, Jim.
Right.
You got that.
Thank you, Jim.
This is Adolph Mongo, Detroit Black and White. I want to thank Russell Ainsworth, Mark Craighead, Christine Beatty, Eric, Eric Brown. Thank you very much for always coming. Vanessa Moss, Teresa, Jim, hey, Alan, enjoy your bar mitzvah, bro. We'll see you next week. And, Detroit in black and white.
Are we off?
Yeah, you are.
It looks like it's still.